Yeah, this is definitely not a Souls game. Welcome to Things I Fucking Hate, a series in which I look at a game that I possibly don't like and discuss the 5 reasons why I don't like it. Or don't love about it. In this case, the critically acclaimed Elden Ring. Okay, before anybody says anything, Elden Ring is obviously amazing. Apart from that one shitty game the B team made, just about everything FromSoft makes is usually on the positive side of things, and Elden Ring is obviously no exception. I don't get excited about much these days, 2020 kind of put a stop to that, but I could rest easily knowing that Elden Ring would be the masterpiece it promised to be. That being said, no FromSoft game is perfect, and since I'm a negative asshole, I'm gonna list the 5 things I fucking hate before the things I like. Because even my favorite FromSoft game, that I won't list at the moment, still has a number of flaws. And despite the fact that Miyazaki refuses to quit with the bullshit concept of poisonous swamps and excessive magic usage, I'm gonna try to avoid that stuff that's been present in the previous titles. And instead stick with the new things that I fucking hate, because honestly, some of this stuff is quite baffling.
Willful traitors. Or
Too much like Souls. Don't know if you've got the memo yet, but this is open world Souls. I don't know why they insist on calling it anything else. The similarities are right in your fucking face. Multiple weapons repeated, sound effects copied, Patches is in the game, and he isn't even a fucking spider.
Is this a joke?
But you know what really makes me think this might be some kind of inside job? The crabs. The fucking crabs. A universally hated Souls enemy, appearing multiple times in the game, and functioning the exact same way. There's no attempt to make them unique. They didn't fix the problems the crabs already had. They literally just stuck them in any area with water. Granted, they also added lobster enemies, but you hardly ever see them. Instead, you just keep fighting the same enemy nobody likes, opposed to a new enemy nobody likes. Kinda got off topic. Still, this doesn't really affect the game in the end, definitely wouldn't deduct points over it. Why not just make it a Souls game? Did they really think being open world meant it couldn't be Souls 4? Bloodborne may have shared a few similarities, but it still felt like a completely new thing. But this sticks maybe too close to home.
Well, finally come round, have you? I knew you would.
Possibly too easy. Another thing you need not complain about too much, but this game is relatively easy to break. What I mean by that is the game is, as you know by now, open world, and there's nothing to really stop you from going to a good amount of areas early and picking up whatever the fuck you want. Given the fact that the game gives you a horse, enemies that one-shot you aren't exactly a big deal, making it very easy to stock up on golden seeds and get the health up to +3. Maybe you don't want to wait to upgrade. Just head to one of those caves with the pickaxe enemies and get yourself a bunch of smithing stones. Even finding an overpowered weapon is easy. Hell, the Ujigatana is included with the samurai class. Why do you think it's picked so often? Granted, since the game is open world, this is kind of hard to avoid. But maybe it should have been that you have to beat some main game bosses before progressing. I know that might go against the idea of the game, but there's not really any reason to go to these places that early on. But you can, and you have good incentive to. Luckily you don't have to do this, and I implore you don't. But if you happen to be looking for a boss guide, make sure this isn't part of the equation. If you do want to cheat the game, then make sure to use the horse, it's kind of important. Speaking of which...
someone must extinguish thy flame.
Horse combat. Just the horse combat. The horse itself is fine, no complaints there, but I'm not a big fan of the combat element. Again, it's a difficult issue. Most of the enemies you're obviously not supposed to fight with the horse, apart from the tree sentinel enemies, which are actually pretty fun to fight when you get used to it. But the draconic tree sentinel, a boss you most likely have to fight to proceed, is when things become problematic. Keep in mind, I think this boss is a piece of shit with extremely cheap attacks, but that aside, it's incredibly difficult to fight without using the horse, and well, it's not remotely fun. Mainly because it dies pretty quickly, in which you'll have to revive it. And for some fucked up reason, a shining example of bad game design, not only do you have to select yes to use the health item, but it's set to no by default. Why? Since when is this game so obsessed with you not accidentally wasting something? If the horse dies, you're probably gonna die too if you don't get back on the horse. And it's gonna happen very quickly. Maybe they really want to deter using it, but what about the boss like the full-grown falling star beast? Optional, yeah, but without the horse, this would be fucking impossible. That has to be the intended way of fighting this thing, so what are you supposed to do when the horse dies and then you're instantly killed trying to revive it? That ain't fair gameplay. Honestly, the horse is fine, but maybe the horse combat should have been just left out.
A war leading to abandonment by the greater will.
The dungeons. This one really makes me angry. And it just hinges on the concept of a new thing that I fucking hate, cause in the past, they did something like it. Bloodborne obviously had things about it that I didn't like. I didn't like the new healing system, I'm sure some people did. I thought the game became less fun at the end, I'm sure some disagreed. But what was the one thing that almost nobody thought was a good feature? The fucking chalice dungeons. Nobody liked these things. Nobody. But I guess Miyazaki didn't get the memo because Elden Ring has something a lot similar.
Are you out of your fucking mind?
Now, the reason I'm counting this is because it's still a lot different. And by that I mean nowhere near as bad. The Chalice Dungeons were some of the most tedious things to complete. I don't know what the fuck anybody was thinking while designing them. The dungeons of Elden Ring are more like just go and find a lever, open the door, beat the boss, and that's it. It's easy enough to do if you want, it's just repetitive and boring. It's good for leveling up early, but I just don't see what it adds to anything. The game's really long as it is, and this is just a way of making it longer, for no good reason. Not to mention, a lot of these include that chariot thing, aka trial and error bullshit. But that aside, I don't like them. I don't know why anybody would like them. To me, it's just a waste of fucking time, and another example of how you can make the game easier if you're willing to grind for it. Otherwise known as things I fucking hate.
Why won't anyone look me in the eye? I'm not that ugly, am I?
Summoning. So, if you want to complete a Souls game, or a Souls-like game, and you want to have an easy time doing it for some reason, there's two ways of doing this. One, pick a magic-themed class, essentially easy mode, and two, summoning. Rather it be finding an NPC or asking a friend for help, summoning will commonly make the game a lot easier, but there are some drawbacks. Such as being in human mode in certain games, having to actually find the NPC, and if you're fighting a boss, well then the boss is given even more health, to somewhat balance it out. Personally, I don't use this myself, but I'm not too bothered by the option of it being there. Nor do I care about the fact that Sekiro opted to get rid of it, making it all the more obvious that not only did Elden Ring bring it back, but they gave you absolutely no incentive to not use it. They may have named it something different, but all you have to do is wait for the game to give you the bell, and that's it. You can summon these things whenever you want, given you have enough FP, reducing early game bosses to somewhat of a joke. Granted, magic builds can use it a lot more, but still, there's no reason to streamline this. If you want something to distract a boss for you, it should be difficult to find. It should come with some kind of payoff. It shouldn't be free to use. And some of these bosses really feel like they had that in mind. I'm not gonna state that as fact, but I just don't see how this improves anything. Even with the magic build, at least you had to devote to it. At least it makes the game a bit different. It's still easy mode, but simply don't do it. With this, you can have any fucking build you want, and make the game easier whenever you feel like it. You don't have to do it, obviously, but it's an option that I can't get behind, and one thing that I truly fucking hate. And how could I forget to mention the Godskin Duo? A boss so cheap that you have two highly capable opponents coming at you at once, giving you absolutely no breathing room, making summoning non-optional. Unless you use sleep arrows or something, but this is the epitome of cheap and lazy boss design. Fuck these two. And there you have it. 5 things I fucking hate about Elden Ring. A game I obviously don't hate, but it is what it is. If you don't agree, that's fine. Just let me know in the comments, and I'll be sure to get back to you. I'm the Game Analyst, and don't forget, just because you click on something doesn't mean you want it. In fact, it's probably just an accident. What? You're actually here? That's fucking amazing. I guess you may as well check out the main channel, in which I discuss movies, TV series, and the offensive topics that lie within. If that interests you, then press the link in the description. It's right there.